My outlook on life has been shaped in good part by the obligations that I've assumed. I've got to finish a film. I've made a commitment to this person. I've got classes to attend, and my life has been shaped by the obligations. The Episcopal Church across the street has few participants now, and the diocese, the Episcopal diocese, has been trying to get them to sell the place, and we've all been fighting that because we know that if they sell the place, there'll be a tall building across there, and there will go my son. So suddenly I got very religious. I was born July the 1st, 1916, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My mother died when I was 7. And that, of course, changed many things. My father was a failed preacher who made a precarious living selling brushes and vacuum cleaners and that kind of thing, and had 5 little rental houses which he rented to blacks. So he was poor but proud, I would say. It never occurred to me that I should make films until after the war, after the Second World War, when a college student, a college friend, Nick Reed, with whom I'd gotten to know at Chapel Hill, started a little educational film unit in Athens, Georgia. Started with the help of the Kellogg Foundation. So he hired me to write scripts, and before long I was going out and directing.
I first met George when I was a student at NYU, and I think I was a junior, and that was in about 1970. And I was just real interested in what he was doing in terms of using film as a catalyst for social change.
We don't want to be a Canadian citizen. We don't want to be American citizens. They told us a long time ago that we were North American Indians. And today we feel this way too. We feel this way because we think that this reservation is ours. And it does not belong to the white man.
But what was important to me about George was that he was a great collaborator. He was, he allowed a young guy like me to work with him, number one. And within, a short period of time after NYU, I was co-directing and shooting films for him. And I don't think anybody, except somebody like George, would have given me that kind of opportunity.
I mean, George doesn't, let up. It was amazing that we were working on 3 different projects at the same time. And it was, like I said, right after I graduated. It was just, Dave, you want to work on this? Dave, you want to work on that? And you can't say no to George. There's something about him and the way he asks that you just can't say no.
But when the appointment letter finally arrives, the scheduled date would have already passed. The reason is the delay in the arrival of the mail. As I've said before, the embassy gives you a 30-day notice, and the stamp confirms the date that it was sent on.
Is the equivalent of the recognition of the geographic, political, and sovereign status of Palestine as a nation. Because usually this code is only granted and given to sovereign countries. This code will also give us an opportunity to directly connect with other countries in the world.
George would be the first to tell you that your first collaborator is the subject in front of the camera. You have to form a relationship with them, and you see that in the way he works. He just gets very involved with the people he's interviewing. You know, it's not just a let's set up and go and get it all on camera first.
I think that he was also using film in a way that not only was an end product, but part of the process.
That life after the film exploration that's just where George's mind is at, I think, from the beginning.
As a documentary filmmaker myself, I'm always curious and sometimes concerned about what happens to people whose everyday lives are transformed when they become part of a film.
Even though, I mean, he's a dedicated filmmaker, but I think his mind is always on what's going to happen outside this film, what's going to happen because of this film.
To sound like another chapter from 1001 Nights. In another development, the Israeli government has recently approved the construction of 900 new housing units in Gilo.
Well, as is true of most people my age, I take a lot of medicines. I have 5 small pills. In this day and date box to remind me. And one huge one, which I often have trouble swallowing. Let's see what luck I have this morning. Went down fine. The one that has given me most satisfaction recently is, of course, All My Babies.
He did a film in 1952 called All My Babies about a Southern black midwife. It was a training tool, but it really is way more than that.
I'm sure glad I brought some newspaper and some clean rags along with me, Maybear.
His film All My Babies was a classic, you know, at a time when there really wasn't a lot of portable equipment. And going out into a black neighborhood, a white filmmaker down south, crossing racial lines, showing the birth process, that was pretty revolutionary for 1949, 1950, or whenever it was, 52.
When I made the film in the early 50s, 52, it was almost no place in Albany where Miss Mary and I could be seen together. It has obviously meant so much to the Coley family. The midwife was called Mary Frances Coley, and that film has meant so much to the family. And one of her grandsons looked me up and got me involved in doing a reunion of All My Babies.
And right then and there said, I think it's a good idea for us to get started on a new project, kind of exploring what's happened to Albany, what's happened to midwifery, and what's happened to the Coley family since.
Well, George has been making films for such a long period of time that, you know, a film like that, that was made almost 60 years ago, to go back and go into that same community and show that change is going to be an incredible thing.